Hi everyone. Another question that has come up frequently is, how much does the quality of the instrument affect how you play? There are certain characteristics that we look for in instruments that make it either a better instrument for us, but maybe not for the next person who picks up that same particular instrument. There are certain really important things. You want to have good strings. You want to make sure that the bridge is shaped properly so that you can play from string to string. You don't want the strings to be too high over the fingerboard, but at the same time, you don't want it to be too close. And you want to make sure there's a little post inside, that the sound post is adjusted. With the bow, you want to have something that's a solid stick, but we are looking for something with maybe a little bend, a little flexibility. You want to have good hair. You want everything properly maintained. I think that is probably the number one thing that I would say, no matter what quality instrument you have, is that the instrument is maintained properly. Then each instrument has its own quality of sound, and some definitely, they have a much wider resonance. So if you're in a big hall performing concerts, you want an instrument that's going to be able to carry. And it's interesting because sometimes an instrument sounds really loud in a small room and you think, wow, this is such a loud instrument. And then you get out into the hallway and nobody can hear it. Or you think, oh, this instrument is not that great. It's not that loud, but you get out into the hall and it carries. And then of course, how we play probably has the biggest effect. You'll notice in my videos that I have various instruments that I play. Most of the time it's either a French violin that I perform most of my concerts on, or my teaching violin, as I call it, or picnic violin, the one that I take out if I'm playing in the rain or outdoors and I'm not wanting to take my other instrument. The times when I'm playing on my picnic violin or student violin, I have a very, very simple bow. It's a student bow. The instrument is not really worth that much. And then other times I'm playing on my French instrument with a much more expensive bow. But for the most part, I find that playing in tune, having the instrument set up in a way that makes it possible to play in tune, again, having the bow hair maintained, those things are going to have a greater effect on what comes out of the instrument, especially if I'm just playing in a smaller room or a smaller space. You want an instrument that you enjoy the sound. Some have a little brighter tone, some maybe have a little bit deeper, darker tone. So it's important that you enjoy the sound that you're creating, but playing in tune, playing in time, those are more important than any instrument that you're playing. And then you have to find an instrument that really suits you. I've tried many different instruments over my lifetime, very expensive ones to my student ones, very, very simple ones. And there isn't that much of a difference between them. I've actually downgraded. The instrument that I prefer is not worth that much, but I really like the sound. And same with the bow. It's just a nice, stable, steady bow. It sits on the string. It has a little bit of flexibility to it. I can create the sound that I want. And then every once in a while, I'll pull out a fancier bow. Maybe if I want to have a sharper spiccato, or if I want to have a little more melodic sound, I might choose one bow over another. Some bows are a little bit heavier. Some are weighted a little more at the tip, or the balance is slightly different. So it really depends on what I want to do if I were to be recording or performing. But for the most part, when I make these videos, it really doesn't matter which instrument I use. What I'm aiming for is just to show you how to play a piece of music and to try to be as in tune as possible and show you the rhythm and the technique behind everything, because that is going to get you a lot further than any, fancy expensive instrument. So again, maintaining the instrument, having something set up well, Sometimes when you buy instruments from your neighbor or online, they look like a violin, and you try to play them and everything that you play on them feels squeaky and awkward, and then suddenly you take maybe your teacher's violin and it feels so much better. It's not even necessarily the quality of the instrument that the teacher has, but most likely the teacher has it set up properly. That's very, very important. However, if you do have an inexpensive instrument, there's the quality of wood. If it's made of a very poor wood, it's not going to resonate. Sometimes if it's not carved properly, the wood is not allowed to resonate. Sometimes if it's not a very high quality wood, then it needs to be thicker. So you'll pick up this instrument, and it just feels so heavy. One thing to look for, you can get a sense of the instrument if it's feeling lighter in your hand than something that's really, really heavy. Same with the bow. If it feels really, really heavy, it's going to be really hard for you to take it off the string or do things with it. What you should be thinking of is think of yourself as the main instrument. If you can sing your parts, if you can hear it in your mind, developing those techniques along with just where the fingers go or what the bow is doing, that's going to help you a lot in your playing.